The master stands in the center of the dojo, eyes closed, perfectly still. Around him, 6 students attack simultaneously, wooden swords raised, strikes committed, no hesitation. He doesn't move until the last possible second, then flows. 6 strikes deflected, 6 students on the ground, not through strength, through timing. A young samurai watching from the doorway is stunned. How did you know where they'd strike? The master opens his eyes. I didn't. My mind knew nothing. That's why it worked. The young samurai doesn't understand. But you have to think to fight, to plan, to anticipate. No, you think you have to think, and that thinking is why you'll never move like that. The master walks past him. Your mind isn't your weapon, it's your cage. And you've been polishing the bars your entire life. Here's what the ancient samurai discovered that modern people refuse to accept. You don't control your mind by strengthening it. You control it by getting out of its way. The Japanese called this kokoro no shihai, shin no shihai, mastery of the heart-mind. Not through domination, through understanding. Your mind has 2 modes. Controlled thought, the voice that narrates, plans, worries, interferes. Natural awareness, the wordless intelligence that moves your hand before you decide to move it. Most people spend their entire lives trapped in the first mode, thinking about what to do instead of doing, analyzing what happened instead of being in what's happening. And they call this consciousness, intelligence, self. But the samurai knew that voice, that constant narrator, isn't you. It's a tool. And when you mistake the tool for the user, you become controlled by the very thing you thought you were controlling. The student who couldn't stop 1698. A 19-year-old named Shun arrives at a renowned sword school in Kyoto. He's talented, educated, trained since childhood. And he has one fatal flaw. He can't stop thinking during combat. Every strike he makes is preceded by thought. Should I attack high? Is my stance correct? What will he counter with? And that fraction of a second, that gap between thought and action, gets him hit. Every single time. His instructor notices immediately, watches him spar with other students. Shun is technically perfect. His form is flawless, but he hesitates. Not obviously, just microseconds. The tiny pause where his mind decides before his body moves, and in that pause, his opponent is already 3 moves ahead. After a particularly bad session, Shun disarmed in under 10 seconds. His instructor calls him aside. You're thinking too much. Shun is defensive. I'm trying to be strategic. No, you're trying to control the fight through thought, and thought is too slow. Then how do I fight? The instructor doesn't answer, just hands him a letter. There's a master in the mountains, Takeda. He teaches what I can't. What does he teach? How to stop being the one who thinks. Shun travels 3 days to reach Takeda's dwelling. A small hut, no dojo, no students. Just an old man sitting beside a stream, watching the water. Shun bows, introduces himself. Takeda doesn't look at him. Why are you here? To learn how to control my mind during combat. Wrong. You're here to learn that you are not your mind. Shun is confused. I don't understand. I know, that's why you're here. Takeda finally looks at him. Right now, there's a voice in your head, narrating, questioning, commenting on everything I'm saying. Shun nods. You think that voice is you? Yes? Of course it's me. It's my thoughts. No, it's a process happening inside you, not you. If it were you, you could turn it off whenever you wanted. Can you turn it off? Shun tries. The voice immediately responds, how do I turn it off? Am I doing it right? This is strange. No, I can't. Exactly, because you're not controlling it. It's running you. Here's what Shun doesn't realize yet. The voice in your head is not conscious decision-making. It's unconscious chatter that you've mistaken for yourself. Like real decisions, real action, happen below that chatter. Faster, wordless, direct. You don't think about pulling your hand away from fire. You don't decide to catch something falling toward your face. Your body moves, and the voice narrates it afterward, as if it made the decision. But the samurai knew. In combat, the narrator is a liability. By the time it's finished commenting on the opponent's move, you're already hit. Takeda gives Shun his first practice. Sit by the stream, watch the water, and every time a thought arises, name it, out loud, say, thinking. Shun sits, watches the water. 3 seconds in, a thought. This seems pointless. Thinking. 2 seconds later. How long do I do this? Thinking. 1 second. Am I doing it right? Thinking. The first hour is torture. Shun says thinking 273 times. His mind is relentless. This is stupid. I should be training. I'm wasting time. What's the point? Thinking, thinking, thinking. And he realizes, I've never noticed how loud this is. Day 3. Shun is still sitting by the stream, still naming thoughts. But something is shifting. The gap between thoughts is getting longer. 5 seconds of silence. Then a thought. 10 seconds. Then a thought. And in those gaps, there's something else. Not emptiness, presence, the sound of water, the feel of breath, the now that exists when the narrator shuts up. Takeda watches this. That evening he speaks. You're beginning to see it. See what? The difference between you and the voice. When the voice is quiet, you're still here, still aware, still present. Which means the voice was never you, just a process, one of many. Shun is quiet. So, if the voice isn't me, what am I? Takeda smiles. That's the question that changes everything. But here's the trap Shun is about to fall into. The one that keeps most people stuck forever. The Watcher's Trap. Day 7. Shun has spent a week sitting by the stream, naming thoughts, noticing gaps, observing the mind. And he's proud of this. I can see my thoughts now. I'm aware of them. I'm watching them. Takeda listens. Good. Now stop. Shun is confused. Stop what? Stop watching. You've created a new trap. Takeda gestures to the stream. Right now, there's you, and there's the thoughts you're watching. You've created a split, an observer and the observed. And you think the observer is the real you, yes? Shun nods. Isn't it? No, the observer is just another thought, more subtle. But still, thinking. Here's the trap. People learn to observe their thoughts and think they've achieved control. They become the watcher, standing apart from the mind, monitoring it, judging it. Oh, there's a negative thought. I'm noticing it. Good. I'm so aware. But the watcher is just the mind creating a new identity, a new role to play. And now instead of being lost in thought, you're lost in watching thought. Still trapped, just one layer deeper. Takeda continues, true Kokoro no Shihai, mastery of mind, isn't about watching the mind. It's about recognizing that there's no one watching. Just awareness itself. No observer, no observed. Just this. Shun doesn't understand. Then what do I do? Nothing. You stop doing entirely. You stop trying to be anything. Just let the mind run. And stay present anyway. Takeda gives Shun a new practice. We're going to spar, and you're going to let your mind think whatever it wants. Don't try to quiet it. Don't try to watch it. Just move, and let the thoughts scream all they want. Shun picks up a wooden sword. Takeda does the same. Begin! Takeda strikes. Shun's mind floods. Block high! No, step back! Where's he going next? And while his mind is narrating, his body hesitates. Takeda's blade taps his shoulder. You listened to the mind. It told you to think, and you obeyed. They reset. Takeda strikes again, same flood of thoughts. But this time, Shun doesn't obey. The thoughts are there, loud, insistent. But his body moves anyway. Blocks, counters, flows, not perfectly, but without waiting for the mind's permission. Takeda steps back. That's the shift. What did I do differently? You let the mind talk, but you didn't wait for it to finish before acting. The thoughts were there, but they weren't in control anymore. Here's the principle. You can't stop the mind from thinking. Trying to is like trying to stop the heart from beating, but you can stop obeying it. Stop waiting for the mind to give you permission to act. Stop believing that thought has to precede action. The body knows what to do. The nervous system knows how to respond. But the mind insists it needs to approve everything first. And that insistence, that delay, is what destroys performance. Day 12. Shun and Takeda spar every morning. And Shun is getting faster. Not because his mind is quieter, but because he's stopped waiting for it to be quiet. Thoughts arise. Doubts appear. The narrator comments. And Shun moves anyway. The mind is like background noise now, present, loud, irrelevant. But then Takeda changes something. Mid-spar, he stops, just freezes. Shun's mind activates. What's happening? Is this a test? Should I strike? Should I wait? And in that confusion, Shun freezes too, waiting for his mind to figure it out. 3 seconds pass. Takeda moves, strikes, taps Shun's ribs. You trusted the mind again. The moment something unexpected happened, you handed control back to it. Here's the deeper trap. You can learn to act despite the mind in familiar situations. But the moment something breaks the pattern, something unexpected, uncertain, new, the mind says, I need to handle this, I need to think about this, and you believe it. You hand control back, and the mind, which is terrible at handling the new and uncertain, paralyzes you. Takeda explains, the mind wants to understand before acting. It wants certainty. But life doesn't offer certainty, only moments. And if you wait for understanding before moving, you miss the moment. So true mastery isn't acting despite the mind in familiar situations. It's acting despite the mind, especially when nothing makes sense. Day 17. Takeda introduces chaos. Attacks from random angles, changes rhythm mid-strike, feints, stops, reverses. No pattern, no predictability. And Shun's job, move without understanding. The first session is disaster. Every time Takeda does something unexpected, Shun's mind tries to comprehend it. What's he doing? Why did he stop? What comes next? And while comprehending, Shun is frozen. But session 3, something breaks. Takeda does a complex feint, step, reverse, overhead strike. Shun's mind doesn't understand it, but his body responds, not perfectly, but immediately. No comprehension, no decision, just reaction. Takeda stops. You moved before understanding. That's the breakthrough. Here's what just happened. Shun's body, trained through repetition, recognized a pattern the conscious mind didn't, and it acted without asking permission. This is how all real-time performance works. Athletes, musicians, fighters. The conscious mind is too slow to handle complexity in real time, but the trained unconscious, the body, the nervous system, processes millions of inputs per second and responds before thought arrives. The mind's job isn't to control the action, it's to get out of the way and let the action happen. Day 22. Shun is sparring with Takeda, and for the first time, his mind goes quiet. Not because he made it quiet, but because he's so absorbed in the movement that there's no space for the narrator. Action, response, flow, no commentary, no analysis, just presence. The mind is still there, but it's not talking, because it's not needed. After, Shun asks, "What just happened?" "My mind, it stopped." "No, your attention shifted. The mind was still generating thoughts, but you weren't attending to them." "What was I attending to?" "This, the movement, the breath, the opponent, reality." And when attention is fully on reality, the mind's commentary becomes irrelevant. But here's what Takeda knows that Shun doesn't yet. The hardest part isn't achieving this state once. It's living from it when you return to the chaos of normal life. The return day 30. Takeda tells Shun, "You're leaving tomorrow." Shun is surprised. "But I've only just begun to understand." "Exactly, you understand. Now you need to live it. And you can't do that here. This place is too controlled, too safe." Real mastery is tested in chaos, not silence. Shun returns to Kyoto, the city, the noise, the demands. And within 2 days, the old patterns return. A merchant tries to overcharge him. Shun's mind floods. "He's cheating me. I should confront him. But what if I'm wrong? What will people think?" The thoughts spiral. Shun freezes, says nothing, pays the inflated price, walks away, angry at himself, not for paying too much, but for listening to the mind again. He returns to the sword school. His instructor asks him to demonstrate what he learned. Shun spars with a senior student. The first exchange flows. His body moves, the mind is quiet, perfect. But then the student does something unexpected, a technique Shun hasn't seen before, and immediately his mind takes over. "What is that? How do I counter? I don't know this." He freezes, gets hit. The spell is broken. That night Shun sits alone, frustrated, defeated. "I had it. At the stream, in the mountains. I could move without thinking. But here, in real life, the mind always takes back control." He writes to Takeda, "I failed. The practice worked in isolation, but not here. What do I do?" Takeda's response arrives 5 days later. One line, "You're still trying to control the mind. Stop." Shun reads it 3 times, doesn't understand. Writes back, "But isn't that the whole point? To master the mind?" Takeda's second letter, "Mastery isn't control. It's surrender." Here's what Shun is missing. He's still fighting the mind, still trying to make it quiet, make it behave, make it stop, and every time he does that, he's engaging with it, giving it power, making it significant. But Takeda's teaching was never about controlling the mind. It was about recognizing the mind doesn't need to be controlled. It needs to be ignored, not fought, not watched, not managed, just left alone while you act anyway. Shun returns to the mountains, finds Takeda by the stream. "I don't understand. You taught me to observe thoughts, to notice the mind, to..." "No, I taught you to see that the mind is just a process, not you. Once you see that, you don't need to do anything with it. The mind talks. Let it talk. You act anyway." "But it's so loud!" "Only because you keep listening." Takeda picks up a stone, throws it in the stream. "Watch the ripples." Shun watches. "The water doesn't fight the ripples, doesn't try to smooth them out, doesn't care that they're there. It just is, and the ripples pass. Your mind is the same. Thoughts are ripples. They arise. They pass. You don't need to do anything about them. Just be the water, not the ripples." Shun sits with this. "So I just let the mind do whatever it wants?" "Yes, and act anyway." "Yes, even when the thoughts are screaming at me to stop, to think, to figure it out first?" "Especially then." Takeda continues, "The mind will never give you permission to act without thinking first. That's not what it's designed for. It's designed to plan, analyze, protect. And in some contexts, that's useful. But in real-time action, combat, conversation, creation, thinking is death. So you don't wait for the mind to approve. You just move and let the mind scream in the background. And after enough repetitions, the mind learns screaming doesn't work anymore. And it gets quieter. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped obeying it." Day 38. Shun practices this with Takeda. Sparring. But this time, Shun doesn't fight his thoughts. They arise. He's going to strike high. No, low. I should. And Shun just lets them talk. Doesn't engage, doesn't obey, just moves. Body responds. Thoughts keep chattering, and the chattering becomes background. Like wind, like birds. Present. Irrelevant. Takeda strikes in a completely new pattern. Something Shun's never seen, never trained for. His mind panics. "I don't know this. I can't..." But Shun's body doesn't wait for the mind to finish panicking. Just responds. Imperfectly, awkwardly, but immediately. And it works. Not because Shun understood the attack, but because his body moved before understanding was required. Takeda stops, bows. "Now you're ready." "For what?" "To return. And this time, stay there. Not by making your life quiet, but by being quiet regardless of how loud life gets." Shun returns to Kyoto. And this time, it's different. The merchant tries to overcharge him again. His mind floods with thoughts. He's lying. You should confront him. What if... But Shun doesn't wait for the thoughts to resolve. Just speaks. Calm. Direct. "That's not the price. This is." The merchant backs down, and Shun walks away, not proud, not analyzing what just happened. Just moving to the next moment. At the sword school, he spars. His mind still generates thoughts. Watch his footwork. He's fast. Don't mess this up. But the thoughts are distant now, like voices in another room, present, but not here, and Shun's body moves, free. But here's the final lesson Takeda hasn't told him yet, the one that makes all of this permanent. The final teaching 3 months later. Shun travels back to the mountains, not because he's struggling, but to thank Takeda. "The practice worked. I can move now. The mind doesn't control me anymore." Takeda nods. "Good, but you're not finished." "What do you mean?" "You've learned to act despite the mind. That's stage 1. Now comes stage 2, using the mind correctly." Shun is confused. "I thought the whole point was to not use the mind." No. The point was to stop being controlled by it. The mind is a tool, a powerful one, but only when you know when to use it and when to set it down. Takeda gestures to a wooden bowl beside him. You don't carry a bowl everywhere. You pick it up when you need water, set it down when you don't. The mind is the same. Here's what Takeda explains. The mind has one job, planning. It's designed to think about the future, to analyze the past, to imagine possibilities. And in the right context, that's essential. You need thought to design a strategy, to learn from mistakes, to solve complex problems, but most people never set the mind down. They keep it running constantly, even in situations where thinking is useless or harmful, in the middle of a fight, in the middle of a conversation, in the middle of this moment. And they wonder why they're always exhausted, anxious, disconnected. Takeda continues, true mastery is knowing when to think, when to act. Before battle, think, plan, prepare. During battle, act, no thought, just response. After battle, think, analyze, learn. But most people do the opposite. They don't think when they should, so they're unprepared. They do think when they shouldn't, so they're too slow. And they never learn, because they're too busy justifying instead of analyzing. Shun asks, so how do I know when to think and when to act? Simple. If you're planning the future or learning from the past, think. If you're responding to the present, act. The present doesn't need thought, it needs presence. And presence is what remains when thinking stops. Takeda gives Shun a final practice. Tonight, you'll walk back to the city, 3 hours, in the dark. And you'll practice switching. While walking, no thought, just walking, breath, footsteps, presence. When you stop to rest, think. Plan tomorrow, reflect on today. Then walk again, no thought. Learn to turn the mind on and off like a lantern. Shun begins the walk. The first hour is hard. His mind wants to think while walking. What will I do tomorrow? What did I learn this week? I wonder if... But he notices the thoughts. Doesn't fight them, just doesn't follow. Returns to breath, footsteps, night air. The thoughts keep arising, but they pass faster now because he's not feeding them with attention. He stops to rest, and now he thinks, deliberately, intentionally. What did I learn today? What should I practice tomorrow? What pattern did I notice in sparring? The mind is useful here, analyzing, planning, processing. And after 10 minutes, he stands, stops thinking, returns to walking, and the mind quiets, not forced, just set down. By the third hour, Shun understands. The mind isn't the enemy. Misusing it is. Trying to think your way through a moment that requires action. Misuse. Trying to act your way through a problem that requires thought. Misuse. But knowing the difference, that's mastery. Shun arrives in Kyoto, and over the next year, his life transforms. Not because his mind is quiet all the time, but because he knows when to listen to it and when to ignore it. In sparring, ignore. Just move. In planning a business deal, listen, analyze, strategize. In conversation, ignore. Just be present with the person. In reflection, listen, learn, adjust. He becomes known, not as the fastest fighter or the smartest strategist, but as someone who's fully present when he needs to be, and fully thoughtful when that's required. And people feel the difference. When he's with you, not half there, mind wandering. When he's working, not distracted, not split. And when he's thinking, deep, focused, then done. The modern mirror. Here's how this connects to you. Right now, your mind is running, narrating this, judging it, planning what you'll do after, and you think that is you. But it's not. It's a process, and you've been obeying it like it's your master. The voice says, think about this decision more. And you obey, even though more thinking won't help. The voice says, replay that conversation. Analyze what went wrong. And you obey, even though you're not in the conversation anymore. The voice says, don't act yet, you're not ready. And you obey, even though you'll never feel ready. Here's the practice. Tomorrow, pick 1 hour of your day. And during that hour, don't think. Not about the past, not about the future. Just Be in whatever you're doing, walking, eating, working, doesn't matter. When thoughts arise, and they will, don't follow them. Just notice, thinking, and return to this, now, here. Your mind will resist. It'll tell you this is pointless, dangerous, irresponsible. You have things to figure out, problems to solve, plans to make, and here's what you do. Ignore it, not forever, just for 1 hour. Then, after the hour, think, deliberately. Sit down, plan, analyze, solve, use the mind, then set it down again. Do this once. Then do it again tomorrow. And 30 days from now you'll notice, you're not controlled by the voice anymore. It still talks. But you don't obey unless it's actually useful. And most of the time, it's not. Most of the time, the mind is just noise. And the real you, the awareness beneath the noise, is perfectly capable of handling life without the constant commentary. 5 years later, a young student asks Shun, "How did you learn to control your mind?" Shun smiles. "I didn't. But everyone says you have incredible mental discipline. I do, but not because I control my mind." Then how? I learned that I'm not my mind, and once I knew that, really knew it, the mind stopped being a problem. The student doesn't understand. So your mind is just quiet now? No, it's as loud as ever. Then how? I just don't live there anymore. It talks, I notice, I act anyway. And over time, the talking matters less and less, until it's just background, like rain on a roof. Present, but not here. The student is quiet for a moment. Can anyone learn this? Anyone willing to stop believing they are their thoughts? And most people aren't. Most people are terrified of what they'd find if the thoughts stopped. They think they'd disappear. But the opposite is true. When the thoughts stop, you finally appear. You're reading this right now, and the voice in your head is commenting on it. Is this true? Should I try this? What if that voice isn't you? You're the one noticing the voice. And the moment you realize that, everything changes, not because the mind gets quiet, but because you stop needing it to. If this landed, write one word below. The thought your mind repeats most often.